Welcome back to our podcast at home on the Lake Shore, where we talk about home loans with our local home loan experts at United One Credit Union. My name is Mike, and this is episode number 14. I'd like to say hello to Julie Piet. She is our local home loan expert from United One joining us today. Hello, Julie.
Hello, how are you today, Mike?
I'm doing very well, doing very well. Hopefully you are also.
I am getting ready for the Christmas season.
That's right. That's right. It's basically here, right? This is the time.
Yes,
So if you're out there
yes.
looking for Christmas gifts, TikTok, right? I've been there. I've been there.
Yes.
Uh, Absolutely. Well, today we're going to do things a little differently because we've got a special guest joining us today, a special guest expert that'll be joining us. And I'd like to welcome and introduce you all to Carrie Sipnevsky. She's with Independent Appraiser, and she's a local appraiser here in Manitowoc County. So, Carrie, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to share the wonderful world of appraisals with you.
Ah, yes. Candy canes and
Yes.
gumdrops, right?
Oh, yes. The most loved aspect of getting a home is the appraisal. So I'm so excited.
I'm sure our listeners are as well. So now, before we dive into that, and Carrie, we certainly want you to share your story and your background, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the show. But it is a podcast tradition that Julie gets to share her joke of the show. So I don't want to deny her that just because we have a
Oh,
special guest
no.
here. So I'm sure Julie's cooked up something in her joke kitchen for us today. So, Julie, take it away.
Wow, my kitchen, you kind of is the intro to my joke. What do gingerbread men have on their bed?
Hmm.
I'm stumped.
Cookie sheets.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
Yeah, I warned you, Carrie. They
Wow.
were
Yes.
good.
Riveting.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, why go to Comedy Central when you've got it all right here?
Yep. Tune back
For
next month.
backup,
I'll have
Bob.
another one for you.
Yep. Oh, okay. So with that, the ice has definitely been broken, shattered, melted, whatever you want to call it. So,
Yeah.
I think we're ready, and I'm sure our listeners certainly are, ready to hear more about home appraisals and more information from our expert guest, Carrie. But before we dive into that, Carrie, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this industry?
Sure. I'm born and raised in right here in Manitowoc. And I previously was a teacher and was getting a little frustrated with that, like has been happening with people in professions for a while. And appraising is something that you have to have someone train you, like an apprentice. You have to have, it's an apprenticeship. And it just kind of fell in my lap at the same time that I was getting out of teaching, that a gentleman wanted to retire. So I trained and here I am. It's been about 11 years that I've been in the industry and I've held my license for 9 years. It takes about a year and a half, 2 years to get that license. So it's not an easy task, but here I am.
Excellent. Well, welcome. 11 years. Wow, that's pretty nice. So we're not kidding when we say we've got the experts here to talk about these things. So thank you very much for that. So, you know, appreciate you sharing your story with us. I think now that we've had that established, I'd just like to share that United One loves to provide expert knowledge and resources to our members. So we're very excited to dive into the meat and potatoes of the show here and go into that information. So without further ado, are you ready to begin?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, let's start with a softball question, right?
Sure.
So this is one that let's just go to the basics, and that is, what is an appraisal and how is that different from a home inspection?
Well, an appraisal is when you have any professional in the appraisal industry, not a real estate agent, an appraiser, that is giving you an objective assessment of the value of your property. It's really an opinion, but it's based on data and research that we've pulled out of the local market to give you that information to share with yourself or a lender as to what we, our opinion, feel the value of your home is based on our research. A home inspection is when you have an expert in that field come to your home prior to a sale, or if you just want to know what's going on with your home, and they're going on the roof, they're checking the shingles, or if you have rubber roof, they're checking the materials and how well that withstands. They are checking your electrical, your insulation, your windows. They're assessing the property's condition and safety, where the appraiser is more about the condition. I'm looking at the overall condition of your property and how that stacks up to other similar type homes that have sold along the way to get my opinion of value, where theirs is the opinion of condition and safety of your home.
Okay. An important distinction there for sure. I think folks should know the difference between those two. So excellent, excellent. So when you're looking at a house and appraising a house, what do you look for when you're in the house and on the property?
When I'm in the home, and every home is lived in, I probably have said this 2 million times, I know that you have laundry, I know that you have furniture, you may have boxes, and there are varied degrees of what people have as stuff in their home. I am not looking at that. I shouldn't be looking at that. Should not influence me in any way, shape, or form. I'm looking at your walls. I'm looking at your flooring, the condition of those things, your cabinets in your kitchens, your vanities in your bathrooms, your countertops. How recently have they been updated, or are they being maintained, or have they deteriorated? I'm looking at your siding, your windows, your roof from a visual from the street view. I'm not climbing up there, but I'm getting as much as I can from a visual inspection of what the condition of these materials are. And if it is just an average, it's like what every other home, or if you've gone above and beyond, maybe you've made some updates in the last few years, or sometimes the way people live are deteriorating their property, and I have to note that as well.
Okay. A lot of things to be mindful of when you're there,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So what consists of the room count, like the rooms in the basement or rooms without closets, or how does that work?
Well, this gets confusing for some people because real estate agents and everyone else has a different way of reporting room count or square footage in a home. For appraisal purposes, and I don't make the rules, I just have to follow these guidelines. So in there, in an appraisal report, it's called gross living area, and that's everything that is above your foundation or basement and up, your first floor or second floor. And that's the room count of your home. Regardless of if you have finished basement or bedrooms down there, your room count goes in that top area. And that's typically your bedrooms, kitchen, living room. Bathrooms don't go in the room count. I don't know why, but that's just part of it. Or even little laundry rooms or mud rooms don't necessarily go in there, but the larger living space rooms do. If where I'm sitting in my own home right now, my dining and kitchen is an open space. There is no wall between. That is considered one full room.
Okay.
So that's how
So a
you
lot of
get your
these,
room count.
yeah. Okay. So a lot of these newer homes with the open floor plans
Yes.
and that new open concept would, in some cases, just be one really big room then.
Well, you take like your living room as one. You kind of visualize maybe if you could wall off, but that's one living space and this is another living space. That
Okay.
part's pretty, I think people get more confused when it comes to bathrooms because you
Hmm.
have full bathrooms and real estate agents will say 3/4 bathroom or a half bath. But my room count, how I have to show it, a 3/4, if it has a shower or a tub, a sink and a toilet, that's a full bath. That's one, right? And a
Mm-hmm.
half bath, people would think 0.5 or half, but it's really a 0.1 if you're
Hmm.
looking at your room count in an appraisal report. Because if I had 2 half baths in my main living space and I did 0.5, 0.5, right, that adds up to a 1, but that's not true. So that's how
Hmm.
we can have that space to put like a 0.2 or 0.3. It's more appraisal based, and can be confusing for the average person looking at it and saying, what does that mean? But that's what it is. My background, as I had said before, is I was a teacher. So that's one of the things I feel that I can offer when I do go in the home. Appraisals are scary. When you're talking about all these things and these other things we are going to get into, I try to explain, if the homeowner or someone is home, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and why I have to call things or put things in certain places. And that's kind of how room count falls for the main area.
Okay. Yeah.
What
Well, that's
about
good to know.
the no closet?
The
Does
no,
that count as
see,
a bedroom?
there are all sorts of changes that have used to be you had to have a closet. Or if you look back at old farm homes, they didn't have closets. So somewhere along the line before my 11 years in the industry, it was that you had to have a closet. But April 1st, 2022, they changed a way to unify all appraisals and appraisers on our measuring technique, which is rounding or going, not rounding, we have to go to the nearest tenth of an inch for your square footage, but that also includes changes in how we call things rooms. And bedrooms can be a bedroom without a closet, but it does have to have a window and a door, an ingress and an egress, and the doors to a hallway, like a old farmhouse. Going back to that, you see a lot where you'd walk into one big room and then through a door and there's another big room, and they used them as 2 bedrooms, but that second room has no direct access to the hall. I can't call it a bedroom. I have to call it somewhere else. You can use it for whatever you want. I just can't label it a bedroom. And it really just comes down to a label also. But it has to have an interior exit and an exterior exit to the living space of a hall for the interior, and a window to be considered a bedroom. And on top of the no closet, a minimum of about 70 square feet.
So
Wow.
is that where the sloped ceiling rule comes in too?
Julie, you're getting so ahead of yourself. Sloped ceilings, that's another fun thing. Wow.
These are all questions we get or
I
facts that
know.
we bring out, and people look at us like, what are you
What are
talking
you
about?
talking about? I know, and I feel so if we're on well, we're sticking on that main living space. Let's not get into the basement yet.
No.
We're on that main living space. And if you have a home that is a Cape Cod, or even a farmhouse that has the dormers or it's sloped ceilings on the side of your second story. So square footage of your home is based off the perimeter, but I can't measure the second floor. So when I'm measuring a second floor, I have to use my little laser beam. But sloped ceilings, if it's a box, that's great, right? That's a mirror of the first floor. But if it has sloped ceilings, first, for any space in your home, first floor, second floor, basement, it has to have a minimum ceiling height of 7 feet. If it's less than 7 feet, I can't call it finished space. You can use it, but I can't call it that. So that second floor, if I'm up there and the ceiling height isn't a minimum of 7 feet, I can't even add that into your home's square footage right there. I put that in another area on the report because the market recognizes it, and I give it value there, but I cannot include it in your overall home's square footage. Now with the side, if my ceiling is 7 feet, but I have dormers, slanted walls, that square footage is not floorboard to floorboard. A lot of people believe that that's how their square footage is, floorboard to floorboard. For those slanted walls, it is up 5 feet floor to the ceiling. Where's that 5-foot mark on that slanted ceiling? And then across from the 5-foot mark to the 5-foot mark. That's your square footage.
Wow.
Yeah, fun.
A lot of fun with tape measures and laser
And
measures
then
and
we have
everything.
to add in the second floor account for the thickness of the wall if it was to the exterior. If it's nice enough, I can open a window to get what that dimension would be. But that's how your second story, if you have sloped walls, it's 5 feet up, because I can't use anything standing or less than that, right? So that's what the appraisal guideline is with these ANSI, and it always has been for the 5 feet up, but it's 5 feet across.
Wow.
So that would be like if we see a realtor write up a fact sheet, they could be counting it one way, then we get your appraisal, and now the room count is different.
Sure.
It could
And
be
your assessor
strictly,
record. Your assessor record may have that in there. Those assessor records are older and they're not following the same square footage. If you looked at an assessor record, Julie or Mike, and you pulled up, sometimes they have the floor plan already on there. It's really convenient. Sometimes it's 28 by 32. How convenient. It's not 32.1 or 2 because they're rounding. So right there you have a
sure.
difference from assessor records with square footage. And then you bring in this fun stuff I just talked about on the second floor with slanting. That's not in there. I think I did appraise a
Yeah.
home for United One, and I just did another one for private where the entire second floor was less than 7 feet. So what was essentially a maybe 1,100 square foot home turned into being a 700 square foot home. Probably scared some people. I take that extra square footage and I put it in another spot on the report, and I do give it value adjusted how I would your square foot, because the market, the average person recognizes that space. They're going to use that space. I just can't put it in that fun little spot on the appraisal report that says total gross living area square footage of your home. I don't know if that helps, Julie. I'm sure you get asked that a lot.
I do. And then when we get the appraisal back, a lot of times they get all worked up and this is not what my square footage is. And what do you mean she's not counting a bathroom? And so we have to step
Well,
back and
if
give some
that's a
facts.
basement bathroom, that might be different, but
That's true too.
there you go. Because if you're on that, see all these fun rules. If you're on the second floor, main living space, not the basement finish, and you do have some of those bathrooms that were put into an older home and it's in the dormer area, and that entire room may be less than 7 feet. So I
True.
take that out, but that bathroom still goes in the room count. But the
Got
square
it.
footage of
Got
it,
it.
I know, you really have to know your stuff.
I
But as I
guess.
said, if there's a homeowner along with me, I always explain what I'm doing and why, because it is confusing and they're going to come in by you and say, what is going on? So
Yep.
I'm hoping, and most people, the appraised value, I'm telling them my opinion of their biggest investment. And sometimes that just in itself doesn't sit well or ruffles feathers because
Sure.
it's your mansion. You put a lot into it and it's invaluable to you. But I am unbiased and I do not have an opinion in it. I'm just looking at the market. But if I'm
Sure.
explaining what I'm doing, they might not be happy with the number, but at least they know what I was doing
I
and why I
yep.
was doing it.
Yep. Yep. Awesome.
Helps.
Awesome.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when we
Wow.
go to basement, like you were saying, the
Oh
bathroom in a
yes, the
basement.
basement.
So a
Hmm.
basement, again, just like the other, has to have a finish of 7 foot tall ceiling. So right away off the bat, if it doesn't have a 7 foot high ceiling, that can't be counted in the basement finish area of a report. But I can put that, like I did with the second floor, in an extra, which is lower down in the report if you've ever viewed one, and take that square footage. Because again, the market, someone recognizes the use of that space. And if I'm looking at other homes that have that space, someone's going to go down there and use it. It's what the adjustment is when I'm in it. But also for basement finish or any other room, it has to have floor finish, not bare concrete. It has to have wall finish. And per our changes that happened about 2 years ago, it cannot be painted concrete block or painted concrete walls. It has to actually be finished. And it has to be a finished ceiling, drywall or false ceiling. There are always exceptions to the rule where I have seen basement ceilings that are more of an industrial finish and they have painted or finished it in a way. I can't call it, again, that square footage as per what appraisal standards have to follow, but I take that square footage and put it in an extra because someone uses that space. So if your bathroom, I love the random toilet that's just sitting in the middle of a bathroom. They want to, it's a half bath to the homeowner, which is, I mean, if I'm doing laundry down there, I get it, but it's it's just a basement toilet. And if it
Sure.
doesn't have the walls or the privacy, it's in the extra, and sometimes it doesn't even have extra value to a home. You as the homeowner might think it's invaluable because I'm down there doing laundry, I've got to run use that toilet, I don't have to run upstairs. but I'm looking at other sales, and I really have to find out what the market, if it tells me when I'm looking at other similar homes, X amount of dollars someone might pay for your home because of that basement toilet. And honestly, sometimes it's not even an adjustable item, or it's very minimal. But
Yeah.
that's why it's not a bath in the bathroom count, because it's just a random toilet.
Really?
It's more
Oh,
often
the
than you
things
think.
you see.
Oh, you see
Yes.
a lot. And there are a lot of homes with random basement toilets. So,
Yes.
You know who you are if you're out there.
Yeah.
and that's great. But if you put some walls around it and a sink and slap some drywall and finish and put a ceiling on, I can put it in that basement room count.
Okay. Nice. Oh, well, this is such exciting stuff. Actually, I think what we're
It
going to
is.
do
Riveting.
here, Carrie, if you're
Yes.
okay, is that we're going to make this a two-parter. Let's
Oh,
do a
right.
two-parter
Awesome.
here. So we're going to go ahead and we'll wrap up this episode, but we'll be back
Okay.
with our next episode, and we're going to continue our conversation with Carrie, talking more about appraisals and what we're doing with home appraisals and things like that. So we'll be discussing different things like, can anyone get an appraisal on their home at any time, or what goes into that report, and if you share that reporting with taxing authorities. People talk often about curb appeal, and does that really make a difference? So we'll talk about that in part 2, as well as any potential adjustments that might be made to that appraisal. So that's all things to look forward to in part 2. So listeners, tune in next time for that. But we do want to thank you for joining us today and listening to our podcast. If you have any questions, or you have questions that you want to ask our home loan experts or some of our expert guests that we'll be having as we move forward in our podcast into the future, feel free to shoot us an email at homeloans@unitedone.org. We'd love to highlight and answer your questions on a future podcast. And if you like what we're doing, we encourage you to give us a like and rate us wherever you get your podcasts, and feel free to share the podcast with others. You're also welcome to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Facebook.com/United1CU, and on Instagram with @United1CU. We look forward to having you join us next time, where we will carry on our conversation with Carrie. So for now, everyone, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
This was
you
exciting.
for having me.
Yes, we'll be right back for you listeners. So join us next time. Thank you all very much for tuning in.